While members of the ANC Women's League in Cape Town are marching to Parliament, they want the Government of National Unity to declare gender-based violence a national disaster. Well, yesterday, tens of thousands of people marched across the country in protest following the alleged rape of a young girl in the Eastern Cape in October. Our reporter Mariska Botha has more.
Yes, very good morning to you, Juliet, and our viewers. Indeed, the ANC Women's League, as you said there, they've gathered here. They're ready to march on Parliament, handing over a memorandum and demanding, as you said there, that gender-based violence be declared a national disaster. Let's speak now to the ANC Women's League Provincial Treasurer, Lumka Tambour. Ms. Tambour, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Why did you feel it's pertinent that you come out to protest in this way?
Thank you, Mariska, and thank you for the interview. I think the most important thing we know, as you already alluded, that we want government the GNU government to declare the gender-based violence and femicide as a disaster. And it has been going on for a very long time. I remember in 2018, this was agreed that GBV and femicide is a disaster, but there's nothing that is being done to make sure that gender-based violence is being equipped in making sure that there is a proper budgeting and planning for that. And also, there's supposed to be a council that has been agreed by government last year already, but that council needs to be resourced with budget, and that budget needs to make sure that it having proper planning and making sure that people are able to work and fight the gender-based violence that we are faced with, and come up with strategies to say how are we going to fix the problem that we are faced with. And the last thing, that how are we protecting the whistleblowers, because there are whistleblowers that are dying. We have a very good example a few months ago in the Eastern Cape. People have been killed, the whistleblowers of gender-based violence, and government is not doing anything. So one of our cries is that we need to make sure that government comes up with plans that are implemented, plans that are going to come up with results, so that at the end of the day, we don't just keep on coming and marching and without doing the proper change to the challenge that we are faced with. And we also want to make sure that our children are being protected, because the victims that we are confronted with now, that we are all going on the street for, are young children that are being victimized within schools. And yet a school is supposed to be a place where a child is going to be safe. So we want our children to be protected in the spaces that they are in, so that when the perpetrators are doing all this, they know that they're not going to get any bail. We need our justice system to make sure that it's very intentional in making sure that those that have been charged with gender-based violence and femicide crimes, they do not get any bails. And it cannot be something that must be applied to the other and the other one is not applied to. There must be a concerted decision, and making sure that anyone that is found to be on the wrong side of the law in terms of gender-based violence and femicide, killing and all of that, they should not be even allowed to have a bail. And then the gender-based and Femicide Council Act needs to make sure we have stringent policies that are going to speak to the justice system, that we know that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But in the case of gender-based violence and femicide, it cannot be taken as a normal cases. There must be a way that gender-based violence criminals must know that they are not welcomed and they cannot be treated as any other crimes, because it's killing our children, it's killing women, it's killing everyone, and something needs to be done. We were dealing with a disaster here, and we were able to do things. Government was able to implement policies in making sure that disaster is going to be dealt with. Why can't we do the same with gender-based violence and femicide? Why must it be treated as if it's a certain one is treated different from the other? So I think that is our call on this particular march. We know that, and we support the women that were marching yesterday. We are part of them, we're part of them, and we are working with every organization that is fighting against gender-based violence. Us doing it today, it's not to say that we are not part of the women that were there yesterday, but many voices, one issue makes more louder voice, so that we can be able to be heard as women and men that are supporting us. That is why we're having this particular program.
Just quickly, briefly, if it's declared a disaster, what will that do? How will it help?
Obviously, when it's a disaster, there must be policies. Policies must change. Justice system must change, because one of the issues that we're crying about is that the criminals are getting bail and be outside. But obviously, when it's a disaster, we would know that this thing needs to be focused on. Policies, acts needs to change in ensuring that it addresses the disaster that we're faced with. So if it's not a disaster, then it becomes a problem. So when it's a disaster, we want, as I said, a concerted decision that each and every department needs to make sure that they're working on that. We need Tutuzela centers. When it's a disaster, Tutuzela centers need to be prioritized and not become a space whereby some of certain things are not there. You won't find rape kits. You won't find well-trained police within the police station that are able to deal with gender-based violence issues, and also people that are raped and do not have. So when it's a disaster, I would know each and every aspect that has to do with that particular disaster, which in this case is gender-based violence and femicide, will have to be looked at. Every stone will have to be turned so that we can look on how are we going to deal with this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Lumka Tambour, ANC Women's League Provincial Treasurer, speaking to us there, saying it all. It's not declared a disaster. It's not going to get the attention it deserves, according to the women that are here. And they say, how many times must there be marches? As you saw yesterday, tens of thousands of people across the country. It's a groundswell of anger around the issue. And certainly the ANC Women's League is now adding their voices, or have been part of the conversation, and today adding their voice to a call for it be declared a national disaster.
Mariska, before you go, what has the reaction been to that judgment handed down in the High Court in GBV this morning? Timothy Omotoso found not guilty on all charges.
Well, the verdict is still very new. We haven't, the word has not spread here yet, but certainly we are certain that some people will be outraged about it. We haven't had an opportunity to speak to people about that issue. As I say, it's very new. It just happened this morning, but it's certainly something that we'll ask the women about here, get their views on it, get their points on it as the march progresses to Parliament.
Thanks very much, Mariska Botha, reporting live from Cape Town.